If you can come up with a word to describe that race, please do my job for me. I don't know. That's just one of the weirdest races. I'm starting to get used to watching or starting to watch a NASCAR race at whatever the start time is, and then it doesn't end until 9 o'clock or something. I'm starting to get used to that actually. What a weird stretch of NASCAR racing. What a weird Chicago street course race. We had a weird one last year, but I got the full distance in, and we all said, you know what, let's bring it back this year. And then this year, you got a great Xfinity race, and it's beating and banging and the street course racing, and then there's a 10% chance of rain. That 10% chance of rain turns into a normal South Florida day, apparently, where it just decides to pour in the afternoon. And that is what happened at Chicago. The rain, the weather, Mother Nature just absolutely taking a turd and throwing it on NASCAR's face. Because that race was not ruined, but completely affected. I don't want to say ruined, because I don't think the race was bad. You gotta be very delicate with your words. The race was not bad, and I don't really feel like NASCAR did anything wrong. It's just the luck that NASCAR has had, with the weather for the last 2 years, to be fair, the Chicago street course, not very good. Now, some of you guys have already said this, and a lot of you guys already said it on social media. The start time, because it starts 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 local. But guys, that's not, thing is, it's not really up to NASCAR. That's the TV providers, and the ratings to them have shown that if you start a race in mid to late afternoon, you carry it into like the 6 to 7 to 8 o'clock area. Most races don't go to 8 o'clock, but you know what I mean. You carry it into that late afternoon time zone, you get higher ratings if other than starting it at 1 o'clock. So that's why they do it, and we know that, and I don't think there's any reason to talk about that, because that's why they do it. That's why they're going to continue doing it. That's why we don't have Saturday night racing anymore, because Saturday night racing ratings were terrible. Now, oddly enough, there have been a few Sunday night races this year, and the Sunday night races have had really good ratings, so I would actually really like to see more Sunday night racing. Obviously, if the track has lights. Chicago Street Course doesn't have lights, so was it going to be smarter if you started at 1? It's something you can't change. This is what the TV providers want, and it happens in all sports, man. TV providers, they pay the money. They kind of control when they want to put things on. It is what it is. But NASCAR didn't really have control over that, and this race was just... The first stage happened 5 hours ago, so it's kind of hard to remember really what happened in the first stage and what happened in the second stage, because my brain is fried from trying to understand everything. Like, I'm genuinely tired from watching that race, because there's just so much I'm trying to think of what happened. It's like, what the... Obviously, the pre-race favorite, SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, and he was the pre-race favorite, won the Xfinity race. And, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Xfinity Series, because I watched that Xfinity Series race yesterday, and, man, it's just every time I watch the Xfinity Series, it doesn't really matter what track they go to. I just think, damn, that's a race car that races really well. And I would just really love to see the Cup Series with a car that can race like that. I know it doesn't have the Cup Series horsepower, but just the way that car is, man, like I really like that race car. Every time I see the Xfinity Series, I really like that race car. And so, yeah, then the next gen car comes in. We know the next gen car is not that great at road courses. Chicago street course, not a lot of room. But I think, the street course, how difficult it is, makes it really challenging. The drivers don't get a lot of practice time, which NASCAR, I really feel like they should give the drivers more practice time, because I think what you saw today, there's two parts of it. Obviously, the weather plays a part in it, but I think the drivers just not having enough practice. They come into these race weekends, and they just don't have enough practice. You have a quick session, then you go straight into qualifying, and then you go into the race. And you just don't have enough time, in my opinion, to really build a rhythm. Now, if this was 10 years ago, they would have 3 practice sessions and a qualifying session, and I feel like they'd be ready to go. But you really just don't get any practice whatsoever. And if you do get practice, we're talking a minimum of 6, 7, 8 laps, if that. It's just not a lot. So it gets really difficult. I think that plays a part into the chaos, because like in the Xfinity Series, yeah, you have not as great drivers because they're in a lower series, but in the Cup Series, all these guys are definitely like great drivers. I feel like they should be able to kind of get around this track. It's a tough racetrack, but I just think that lack of practice is what causes the chaos. And then the weather comes in. So, stage one, SVG wins it. He starts, I think, fifth. He's able to get up there and lead and win the stage. And then just, yeah. The rain is going in and out, so the race starts in damp conditions, but the rain is going in and out. A lot of the drivers decide to start on slick tires. Some of the drivers decide to start on wet tires. We'll call them wet. We'll call them slick. Now, I don't know about you guys. One issue I had the entire race, this is just me watching the race, is that, and I love NBC, but NBC probably weren't prepared for this. For future NASCAR races that are at a road course, and shout out NASCAR for actually not mandating teams be on a certain tire. We complained about that at New Hampshire. So while it's chaotic, this is racing. Having to decide, do I start on a slick? Do I start on a wet? When do I switch over to the other tire? When is the crossover path? This is strategy. This is racing. We saw it in the Formula One race. We saw Ferrari do what Ferrari always do. They are absolute idiots. They put Leclerc on the inters way, way too early and throw away his race. And that it's not the organization or race director or whoever's fault or responsibility to tell you what tire you got to be on. Every race team here needs to be responsible for that, and it is part of the racing. So shout out to NASCAR for letting them do that. I appreciate that. That was a big part of stage one because the majority of the leaders and majority of the field stayed out on slick tires. Or started on slick tires. Some people started on wet. Now, the one issue I have with NBC, just the one issue, guys, is that I never knew, and I'm guessing you guys were like this as well, unless you were following every single driver Twitter account or something. I never knew really who was on slick and who was on wet, throughout the entire field. Of course, we knew SVG and Bell and someone like Logano, right, or some people in the back of the pack, but the entire field. When people were either pitting or people were not pitting, or as we get into stage two and, after the rain delay, it gets even more into this. Half of the field is on slick tires, half of the field is on wet tires, and I have no idea. There's no indicator on the leaderboard on the left side of the screen. So I don't know who's on slicks. I don't know who's on wets. And so NBC, if you can, please, if this gets around to you by any chance, just an indicator, just a W or an S. You could color code it or something. S for slick, W for wet. If you want to make it rain or something, R for rain. I don't know. That would have helped a lot just in viewing the race, especially towards the end where it seemed like the top 10 were on wet tires and Bell was on slicks. But then other than Bell is, Gibbs and other guys, Reddick, who else in the back of the, in the 15th and 20th place, who else is on slicks? Who else is on wets? It gets a little bit confusing back there. So I was trying to watch that race, and I'm sure you guys were like this as well, with the entire race. There was only one time that NBC showed, the tire choice, and that was, I think, right before the final restart while they were lining up, before the restart. They showed it on the left side of the screen, where I feel like during the running order for the entire race, I really needed some sort of indicator of, what the entire field is on. That's just my thing. And then I'm not going to get into all the wrecks because we'll just show them on the screen. There's so many of them, man. Chase Briscoe wrecked 4 times. Josh Berry wrecked probably 3 times. It's shots to the SHR boys, obviously. Kyle Larson decided to just kumbaya it into the tire barrier because, like I said, this is after the rain delay. The track is basically on ice. People are lacking a lot of grip. Just so many wrecks, so many crashes, and like I said earlier, I think part of this is the lack of practice. Another part of this is that it's just very difficult to take a stock car on rain tires on a very icy, wet racetrack. It's tough, man. It's really tough, the braking zones and everything, and the fact that NASCAR drivers have not done this enough. In Formula One, they've been racing in the rain for decades, a century, whatever. In NASCAR, we've only been doing it for a very little bit of time. So it's still a learning process for a lot of drivers, so I'm not going to be harsh on anyone. But that is why this race becomes very chaotic, and in my opinion, you might already tell, I'm not a big fan of this. It's too random. Every other lap, there is someone going off the track. Every other lap, there is someone in the tire. Really, actually, every lap. Every lap, there's someone in the tire barriers. There is someone spun around. There is someone wrecking someone else. It's too much. It's too chaotic. there's a level of chaos. There's a level that I think weather brings into racing that is really cool, and the strategy is the main part of that. I love the crossover points and deciding which tire you have to be on. And I love when drivers get offline a little bit and, they have to save it or something. But at a street course, there is no saving it. You have barriers. You are on a street. It's like if Monaco in the wet. Monaco in the wet is just as chaotic for Formula One. There is nowhere to go. There is nowhere to hide. So I get that. And the thing is, like in NASCAR, when you have 40 drivers and everything and all this chaos, it's a little bit too much for my liking. Like if you asked me, and this is a debate amongst a lot of you guys on social media, like Chicagoland or the street course, right? A lot of debate amongst, NASCAR fans, and I don't really know the right answer to that because I don't know how many people attend the street course. I don't know the difference between the street course and Chicagoland in terms of more eyeballs on the sport. But right now, yeah, would I prefer a Chicagoland race? Maybe. Like, I feel like that would be NASCAR. The street course doesn't feel like NASCAR yet. It feels like something different. But I don't know how to explain it. And the thing is, I kind of want to give the street course a fair rep because both races have been in rain. This entire race was with a damp racetrack, basically, and like crossover points. And last year also had rain in it. And so I kind of want to see just like a dry street course race and just see like, okay, what is this really like? Is it just as chaotic? Are people wrecking every other lap still? And, I would like to see that because this one is just too much in my opinion. There are so many wrecks. Like I genuinely cannot remember all of them. So many because every restart, lap 1, someone was in the tire barriers. Every restart, lap 1, someone was doing a dive bomb or something. Like Bubba Wallace was pissed at Alex Bowman after the race because of what happened earlier in the race where they basically ruined Wallace's day, where Wallace was actually running in the top 10 on a road course, and Alex Bowman just, he said in his post-race that he was trying to turn his windshield wipers on, and he just lost focus and drove it in too deep, so fair enough. But you just, so much happened that it's just so much chaos, so much strategy, so much where you don't know what tire is what, like who's on what tire and everything. It's raining, it's not raining, 1.5 hour rain delay. NASCAR's about to come back. Nope, it rains again. Like the weather was trolling NASCAR. It felt like it was trolling me. I was like my brain is fried. There was a moment in this race, guys, where we were under caution for 28 minutes. 28 minutes. The end of stage 1, with 4 laps to go, there's a caution. They can't get it restarted because I think it was AJ Allmendinger that ended up in the tire barriers. They can't get it restarted in time. NASCAR can't get it restarted in time before the pit road will close with 2 laps to go, and they don't want people taking advantage of the stage caution, so they just say, heck with it. We're just going to finish the stage under yellow because we can't get this restarted without you guys, the field, manipulating the rules and stuff and all that nonsense, right? So you just finish 4 laps under caution. Then there's the actual stage caution. So there was literally I have YouTube TV, so I'm able to just rewind it back. So I rewinded it back to the point of the caution, and I rewind it fast forward. It was 28 minutes from the time that the caution came out to when green flag started for stage 2, and then obviously the rain came not that long after, right after that. So yeah, it's just it felt too much of a mess. The entire race felt like a mess. Some of it is NASCAR's fault. Most of it has nothing to do with NASCAR. Like, it is just circumstance. It is just bad luck. What can you do? What I mean by some of it is NASCAR's fault, I'm talking about specifically the end of stage 1. I don't want to be sitting there for 28 minutes under caution, guys. 28 minutes. I've never seen in my life a caution that long. Like 28, that's ridiculous. And there's also the whole race manipulation factor. Like NASCAR, so what? Like if teams take advantage of the pit road, you brought in stage cautions. You implement the rule with pit road closing with 2 to go. If you can get it restarted with 2 to go, restart the race with 2 to go. Like, you can't just make up these rules and manipulate the race to stop teams from taking advantage of something that might be a loophole in your rules. And instead of whatever happened there, we got 28 minutes of caution. Like, oh man, that one, no, it's not very good. Let's go to the race results where I keep rambling on because this race review is as random and chaotic as the actual race, and I apologize about that, but it is just way too random. And this race result is going to be random because I would love to tell you guys, okay, this guy's on slick, this guy's on wet, but because like I'm pretty sure you guys as well didn't get the feedback on the TV. I honestly don't know who was on slicks and who was on wets. I know some of the main guys, but there were a lot of guys that I just didn't know because they were running in the mid pack or back in the pack. And since you don't have that indicator on the left side of the screen, you just don't know unless you're following them. Like you're a fan of, for example, Ryan Blaney and you have his audio, then yeah, you know what tire he's on. But if you're trying to keep an eye on everyone in the field, you just simply don't know. So the race results, absolutely chaotic. Alex Bowman wins it, makes the right call. He stays out on wet tires while guys like Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, they decide to come down for slick tires. And this is at the end of stage 2. And there's also man, I haven't even talked about the caution. Oh my God, there's so much in this race. Oh my God. Guys, there was the race, by the way, yeah, the caution clock, and teams made a strategy call based off the caution clock, and there was 10 minutes to go at the end of stage 2, and so you had to decide whether to come down pit lane or pit before the stage end, thinking if the track was drying in time. My brain is fried, man. I feel bad for the crew chiefs. My brain hurts. My brain hurts trying to understand what the heck happened in this race. So just a quick explanation. Yeah, end of stage 2, right before you pit, you know you have to pit because if you stay out, you're going to lose all your track position by coming down into caution. But that's under normal circumstances. There's a caution clock or a timed race clock that has 12 minutes left because it's going to end at 8:20. So you have to determine whether the track is going to dry quick enough to come down and take slick tires or keep the wet tires on, or this and that and blah, blah, blah. So half the field going wet tires, half the field going slick tires. It looks like, Christopher Bell is going to make his way. Bell ends up getting wrecked because Truex and everyone on wet tires is on a dry track, and Bell gets wrecked in that chaos. And then Tyler Reddick is coming in with 1 lap to go. By the way, NASCAR might have messed up the end of the race because technically the clock ran out, and then Bowman crosses the line. That technically should be the white flag lap because when the clock runs out, you're on 2 to go, and then you cross the line, and then it's 1 to go. According to, I think, motocross, that's how it works. I think they clarify that for me, but no, Bowman crosses the line. There's still 2 to go, so the clock runs out. And what NASCAR was saying was that when the clock runs out, you're on 2 to go, you cross the line, it's a white flag. No, clock runs out, it's 2 to go, Bowman crosses the line, it's still 2 to go. So they added an extra lap, which means Tyler Reddick on slick tires is on his way. And that extra lap, which whether that's correct or not, I don't know, someone get in the rule book. And by the way, as a fan, I don't know what the hell is happening because this has never happened before. So I don't know the rules. So I'm losing my freaking mind. I'm like, wait, did Alex Bowman just get screwed? Or is this actually how it's supposed to be? Was NBC reporting it wrong? Was I watching Supercross wrong my entire life and the time? I don't know what's going on. Bowman's staying in the lead. Reddick looks like he's going to catch him. He's 3 seconds back. He's 2 seconds back. He's 1 second back. Hits the wall. Hits the wall in turn 5. Turns it in too early. Hits the wall. And Reddick, yeah, kind of probably would have caught him. Probably would have beat him. But, yeah. So that happened. Alex Bowman wins the race. Tyler Reddick with a damaged race car is able to bring it home back in second. You guys following me? Like, I'm sorry. You guys, if you want to click off the video now, bro, oh, God. I don't know how to explain this race, man. This race is chaotic. Alex Bowman locks himself into the playoffs, and, the 2 drivers, I am not a hater, but I'm honest. The 2 drivers I don't really rate is Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, but nobody rates Austin Dillon, so we don't even got to talk about that. And Alex Bowman. Those are the guys I don't really rate. And Alex Bowman, Austin Cindric have both won in the last 4 or 5 races. So I am finished. Kumbaya. Delete my channel. I am done. They're both in the playoffs. What do I know? So yeah, man. Although I have to be honest, Joey Hand almost won this race and he finished 4th. No disrespect to Joey Hand, but come on, guys. Really? Like, that just this race doesn't make sense. It's just it's more of a lottery than Talladega. It's what the hell. Ty Gibbs finishes 3rd. Joey Hand, congratulations to them. They made a great call. They stayed out at the end of stage 2. They stayed on wet tires, and they were competing for the win. Alex Bowman was able to pass them. And listen, Alex Bowman is in a Hendrick Chevrolet, and Joey Hand not in the best ride. He's giving it his best. So very good run there. Very good run for that team. Shout out to them. I'm going to be very proud of that. Michael McDowell in 5th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I swear to God, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ended up wrecked with Denny Hamlin in the tire barriers sometime during stage 2, and he ended up finishing 6th. I don't know, guys. I don't know how to explain this. I remember with not that long left in the race, Denny Hamlin and Stenhouse were in the tire barriers, and Stenhouse finished in 6th. So I don't know. I don't know. I would love to explain to you, and I have no idea. Todd Gilliland in 7th. Do I know how he ended up there? Absolutely not. William Byron, I didn't see him the entire freaking race. He ends up in 8th. Kyle Busch, I didn't see him the entire race. He ends up in 9th. Ryan Blaney in 10th. Daniel Suarez in 11th. Daniel Hemrick in 12th. Bubba Wallace recovers to 13th after getting wrecked by Bowman earlier in the race. Noah Gragson to 14th. And Austin Cindric rounds out the top 15. Haley, Smith, Keselowski, Dillon, Buscher, Elliott finishes up. Elliott's top 20 streak is dead. He finished in 21st. So, yeah, he didn't finish in the top 20. Sorry, Elliott fans. I didn't even know that top 20 thing was a thing. Really, celebrating top 20 streaks? Come on, guys. It's Chase Elliott. You got to be winning races. Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, Carson Hocevar, Harrison Burton, the rest of the field. SVG, Kyle Larson finished in last, 39th and 40th. Christopher Bell ended up wrecked, finished in 37th. I don't know what else to say. The craziest NASCAR race I've seen. I don't think it was good. I just think it was unnecessarily chaotic and too much was happening. It's too much for my brain to compute. It's just a little bit too chaotic. If it can just not rain like that again, yeah. But on the positive, shout out NASCAR for letting the teams figure out the strategies. That was a plus. Made it a lot of fun. And everything else is just chaos and the drivers trying to keep it on the track and track drying, the track's wet, and everything like that. Congratulations to Alex Bowman. What do you guys think of this race? Just unbelievable. I have no other words. Like, this race review in itself is as chaotic as the race because I don't have any words to kind of explain how I'm feeling because this race was so mad. Like, it's 75 lap race, ends in 58 laps, ends in the darkness, and yeah, Bowman wins and gets the playoffs. What do you guys think, man? What do you guys think? I'm gonna go to sleep. After I edit this and upload it to you guys, I'm going to sleep because this race fried my freaking brain. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.